Welcome back to the show, kids. Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. As you see by the liner notes, as you see by the description of this here little episode, this is episode number 9 of season 2. I'm going to let that marinate for just a sec before we get started. 9 episodes. Dude, we only got 3 left for season 2. 3 left and we are out. I mean, not forever. We got to come back and do 14 more. So we still got time, but man, the clock, she's a ticking. All right. Tom Clark here with you as always, joined by Jay Luft and Joe Higgens. Gentlemen, number 9 is what on your side of the pond you may refer to as a banger. It's fun. It's awesome. It's a fever dream as I've seen it described. It's one of my personal favorites. Jay, let's start with you this time. Episode 9. What's your thoughts coming into this episode? How does this attach to Man City, episode 8? Your opinion?
So we kind of had a little chat about this before we started recording. So I'll pretty much just say what I just said to you guys then. In that Ted Lasso is very good in the way that it can give you like an absolute gut punch to end an episode on. And then the following week they've realized like you can't, because it's a comedy show, it's all about peaks and troughs with like your emotions, and you can't go straight into like a follow-up episode, which would then have been dealing with the bombshell we were left on in the previous episode of Ted revealing to Dr. Sharon about his dad taking his own life. So what they do instead is they do kind of like a shift to how Beard's dealing with the match, because you can see Beard's upset, and it does touch on like a lot of sort of like Beard's deep-seated issues, but it doesn't really broach them. It just kind of like mentions them. And this episode's just more about kind of, as you said, a fever dream. It's just bizarre. I mean, I've been on nights out where I've just gone for a quiet drink and ended up going all over the place to places I would never have thought I'd go to before. And this is that.
Well, here's some connective tissue for you. We said before we started recording here today that this episode reminds me a lot of the bit with Ringo and Hard Day's Night, which Ringo received credit for after the films. Like, man, that was really good. Like, Ringo might be an actor. And Ringo came back immediately and said, well, I was high the whole time. I don't remember much of it. Like, man, you know what I mean? So, Joe, here we are going into number 9. Yeah, what do you think about this, man?
It's one of those, like the Christmas episode. It doesn't really further the main story along, but like Jay said, we get a lot of Beard in this and more, I wouldn't say backstory of him, but just like how his world works, because there's just like he is an enigma of a man wrapped in a vest. I really like this. The first time I watched it through when we did the original watch of it, I was not, because it's not a Ted Lasso episode. It's this own unique, specially weird thing. Like even the Christmas episode is a Ted Lasso episode, but this is, it feels like, you know, when you've had like a long running sitcom and they try and squeeze like a spin-off episode into it.
Yeah.
Like the farm episode of The Office and stuff, like it feels like that, but it's, I really, having rewatched it, I really like this episode because it is so bizarre. It's such a non Ted Lasso episode that it goes back round to being a Ted Lasso episode. Yeah, and we find out more about Beard, because up to this point we know nothing. He's a lumberjack. He already won the lumberjack champion. Like there's all these little things that they drop, but we find out more about how he just goes about his day-to-day life.
What's funny is that if this episode never happened, I would have been okay with that because the mystery still would have been there. Like, did this ruin the mystery for anybody after this episode, or did they still leave enough to where you keep guessing after the fact?
I think it left me with more questions than answers.
Yeah.
I think what's really good about like the way they do the character development for Beard is you only know what he tells you. So there's obviously that bit like in the 3rd season where he kind of like reveals his backstory, and it's only because Beard actually divulged that information. Otherwise, we wouldn't have known, and he would have just been an enigma.
It's like for everything that he reveals, 3 more questions are thingy. It's the Hydra of Beard. Yeah.
Right. It's the old line of how do you know who your daddy is? Because your mom told you so. Like you're only getting details as you need them. You're not really getting anything else. So yeah. Well, on that oddly said note, let's get this thing kicked off here, children. Episode 9 is entitled Beard After Hours. And if you're a fan of this show, you know how fun this episode is. And if you never watched it, but you've watched it, now you want to hear us talk about it, are you in for a treat? This is going to be a good one. The original air date for this episode is September 17th, 2021. Directed by Sam Jones, story by Brett Goldstein and Joe Kelly. 12 episodes in season 2, and yes, this is episode 9. When last we left the Ted Lasso gang, we saw Ted come to the aid of Dr. Sharon after a scary accident as Jamie was forced to deal with the drama of his neglectful father, while Rebecca and Sam finally discovered they'd been talking to each other on the dating app Banter. AFC Richmond headed into possibly the biggest match in the club's history, and Ted finally began to face his painful past as Coach Beard decided to take some much-needed time for himself. And that's how we open. This directly connects to episode 8, kids. You could watch this as sequels. They exactly where episode 8 ended off is where we pick up here. We open with the final scene from the end of episode 8 with Beard saying he didn't want to ride back with the team. He's outside of Wembley Park and takes the train along with happy Man City fans. We get a time-lapse scene of people getting on and off the train, which is awesome, as Beard continues to ride. He stares a little boy in the eyes for way too long as his mom pulls him close, like, that's enough. Stop staring at my child. And then Beard gets off the train. What did you guys think about the Ted Lasso theme being performed acoustic this time? The musician's name is Jeff Tweedy. A much different intro than we've had before.
It took me a moment to realize it was the theme.
Me too.
Yeah, I didn't know it was, to be honest.
Yeah.
I have to spoil my mind that. I thought it was some sort of, thing. This scene it's that sort of everybody's talking at me, Midnight Cowboy sort of thing of him doing this thing. But that staring at the kid thing, I was like, Beard, what are you doing?
Well
he's
done.
terrifying, that small boy.
Yeah.
And then he realizes that I can't take out my anger on a small child. And he kind of looks at the mum and goes, and she's not having none of it. But I didn't realize it was. I'm gonna have to listen back to that now.
Well, Jay, you mentioned the Christmas episode. That was the first time the intro had ever changed, Jay, and now we're the second time. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Like when, as we said, this kind of felt like a little bit of a side, like a spin-off episode, a bit of a side quest. It's cool when there is like an episode where it doesn't necessarily play too much into the continuity of the show. It's good. It's good that they kind of differentiate that with a different sort of like opening credits.
Yeah,
it makes it feel like an entirely different show.
It does. This whole episode feels. I think you said it best, Joe. It feels like a freaking spinoff. Yeah, well done. So Beard gets into his flat and turns on his TV. It's highlights from the game. He grabs a beer, and we see Gary Lineker, I think is how you pronounce it, an English sports broadcaster and former professional footballer. Lineker is the only player to have been the top goal scorer in England with 3 clubs. And he also played for Barcelona and Spain and won 80 caps for England. We also get Thierry Henry, a French professional football coach, pundit, sports broadcaster, and former player. He is currently the manager of the France national under-21 team. He is considered one of the greatest strikers of all time and one of the greatest players in Premier League history. Jay, how familiar are you with this guy right here?
Yeah, he's one of the best of all time. He's unreal. He was one of those players you used to love watching him play unless it was against your team because he's just outstanding. Such a good footballer. So that in this scene he actually says "va voom." That's Joe will know what this is a reference to. So he used to do. Was it Renault's?
I'm assuming it was Renault. Yeah.
Basically, he used to do like the advertising for Renault, which is a French car company. And the whole tagline was "va voom."
Yeah.
And like it was just essentially like trying like using "va voom" as another word for cool, which Thierry Henry then kind of like he does use it every now and again in like his punditry and stuff like that. But yeah, outstanding football. Like Gary Lineker, a bit before my time, but obviously I know who Gary Lineker is because he's the face of Match of the Day, which is essentially like in England, it's the football highlights of like a Saturday and a Sunday night. And he's been the face of that for what, like probably
ever
going on. Yeah, so, probably going on 25, 30 years, right?
Wow.
Was it Lynham before then?
It was Des Lynham before then, yeah.
So give me a pro wrestling comparison for Thierry here. I mean, who do we compare him to, like in terms of impact and how good he was, and like recent examples, maybe?
Recent examples, I'd say Thierry Henry is like a Seth Rollins. Like he's flamboyant, he's very like flashy, but he's very good at what he does.
They pop up a lot in this episode too, kids. It's very hilarious because they're talking directly to Beard. No one sees them but Beard, which is good. But they're actually on the TV here, and they're talking back and forth about the game. It's a real David versus Goliath match, but where Goliath just curb stomped David back to the Seth Rollins thing there in the back of the skull, like in that Ed Norton movie. They reference Fight Club a few different times here in this episode, I believe.
That was American History X, wasn't it?
I know, but he goes. Thierry Henry goes, Moonrise Kingdom? And then Karen goes, yeah, I think it was that one. And I'm like, it's not Moonrise Kingdom.
It's not. Absolutely
not. Fun. That was fun. He says, yeah, well, for me, the match was a real Cinderella story. If her glass slipper broke and sliced her Achilles tendon. Very good. Basically, they're not blaming the players. They're blaming the coaching staff. And Beard's hearing this, and he's got his phone. He's debating on calling Jane. And then suddenly, out of the blue, Gary says, what about Coach Beard? And Thierry says, what about him indeed? Coach Beard knew what an aggressive offensive strategy. This was a mistake. He should not have let Ted, Nathan, and Roy convince him otherwise. And like, we know this is not really happening, but for a second, you're like, wait a minute, because eventually they start kind of talking directly to him, which is crazy. Jay, I'll throw it right back to you. I mean, this is a generic question, not a real team, not a real game that we saw on this not real TV show, right? But how much is the coaching staff and how much is the players?
I'd say it's probably 60-40, maybe even more, because at the end of the day, the players go out and play the tactics that the coach would give them.
That's fair.
Or the manager would give them. Like an example of that is Newcastle Ice Sport. Like they changed manager about 2 years ago. The manager before was terrible. Like no tactics, no real no kind of like real drive or ambition. The manager they replaced them with was getting players who looked like they didn't belong at the club at all. Didn't belong at the level they were playing at for any club, and got them as like world beaters. So it does. I think as much as like a lot of it comes down to how good they are at the game physically, a lot of it comes down to the mentality, and that's something that can only really be coached into players. So I'd say it's definitely at least 60-40, maybe more in the coaching side of things, like when I use that analogy. But it all depends really on like what kind of the philosophy of the club is and stuff like that as well. Like if they've got like a lot of times, like a club will bring a manager in, and the managers will come and go, but they'll keep the same sort of like infrastructure and the same sort of like training methods and play style and things like that to keep stability at the club. Other times, a manager will come in, see none of that's working, and just like tear everything down and rebuild it back up. Right. So it all depends on the club, really.
That's fair. I mean, it's the same way in the States, honestly. I mean, and over here, players don't get fired, coaches do. So, we know how that goes. Gary calls Coach Beard Ted Lasso's number 2 and says he's supposed to challenge him, not just be a sniveling lackey. Woo. And then Thierry gives the Vava Voom line. And then suddenly Gary out of the blue says, does anything say sad single man more than a chessboard coffee table? It's a great line. He says, I know I'm French and expected to say things like this, but I hate Coach Beard.
It's like,
what?
That's a bit harsh. Like, but then Beard goes, huh? And then it just cuts back to the normal show, and it's like, yeah, all this is just in Beard's head.
There's so much like foreshadowing as well within that like scene, which is for the rest of the episode. Like even down to the fact that the show's called G&T or G&T time, and it's like Beard's about to go out and start drinking.
Well done.
Oh, I saw that. I was like, oh, that's quite clever actually. If Beard's going out on a night out and it's called G&T time, and he's probably going to drink a gin and tonic at some point.
Well,
pint of lager, a gin and tonic, and a Bailey's.
Yeah.
Well, for the first time, Beard tells him to shut up. It won't be the last time he tells him either.
Yeah, I do like they use throughout the episode. They use Gary Lineker and Thierry Henry as like proxies for Beard's inner demons in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Yeah,
it's like two devils one on each shoulder instead of an angel. There's two devils. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're both talking.
Neither of them are like justifying his point. They're just like, yeah, he is rubbish. Yeah,
this guy sucks. Yeah, he. Joe, you mentioned this before we recorded here today that a replacement song called "Nightclub Jitters" plays.
Nightclub Jitters, yeah, it's. I just really like the replacements. That's all. I just like them. To be fair, there's some amazing music in this episode as well.
There is. Like, oh my god!
All the way through Ted Lasso, actually, there is a really good thingy. But I was like, it's not often you hear a replacement song, especially like Nightclub Jitters, on anything, and it just made me smile.
Yeah, I mean, we got great music in the last one as well. Yeah. So he goes to the Crown and Anchor and has a little conversation with May. Nothing huge about this. Basically, she asks if Jane's coming. He says, we broke up. She goes, shocking. And he says...
May is such a understated character.
They all know about Jane, too.
Oh, yeah. So, like, well, you imagine, like, they're in there, like, I would assume, like, they're always eating in there. And they never seem to cook, do they? So, like... Never. You just assume that they're in there every day.
We never hear a kitchen in the background. That's funny.
I think in the episode where Roy comes to Ted's flat, he's like, "I've got some pasta water if you want that."
Ted's got that kind of pasta water.
But other than that, that's it. Like,
oh, that's funny. Yeah, he says.
I assume they're in there a lot, and like they get to know each other's like, comings and goings, innit?
It seems like it's like kind of like the sort of almost like the like anchoring point for Beard and Ted, doesn't it? Where like it's almost as if it's between the two flats.
Between the two flats, yeah. It's like common ground. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the halfway point.
That. Yeah. He says she accused me of being jealous, because I told her it's hard to not know where I stand, which it is because she never says I love you. She said, did you say it to her? I did. And she didn't say it back? She did not. Beard gets that she did not and that he did not. I did not. Like, you know what I mean? I love he always has. He's the character that will deliver that line like that. That's fun. That's good.
Never uses contractions. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Very formal. Very formal. And May goes, oof. And Beard says, thank you for helping me relive that. She says, well, you must feel awful. He says, reason is powerless in the expression of love. And she goes, no, I meant about the match. What the hell was your thinking behind those tactics? And he's like, May. Like, you're right. Enjoy your beer, which is great. And
then she comes back and starts shouting at him as he walks away.
In a semi-final. Semi-final.
You know, what we saw with the broadcasters earlier, part of me thought, did that really happen? Or did he... You know what I mean? Did that really happen?
Yeah. I think that did, because it's kind of plays into the whole, like, Beard just trying... A lot of the theme of this episode for Beard is, like, escapism, where he's just trying to take his mind off, like, the results. He tried to kind of... he tried to give tactics to Ted, and Ted didn't listen to him, so he's upset about that. And it's sort of like almost like a battered ego thing, isn't it? With the team, because they've got that far only to just roll over to Man City.
In an absolute battering, as well.
Yeah. 5-0 or 4? Yeah.
5-0, and he got a red card as well. We find out in this episode. So yeah, it's one of those things. I think this really happened. It's just a case of he's gone to like almost like a safe place to just try and like take his mind off everything, and immediately he's getting shit for it when he doesn't need that.
Yeah, he checks his phone and she's got text from Jane. There's a picture of a purple neon cross, which will come back around eventually in this episode. Yeah. He types a message.
He walks to the table, he drops his keys.
Yeah, that comes back too. Yeah.
Is a very important thing in this episode.
Well done. A lot of symbolism, guys, as you said before we started here today.
A lot of it.
Yeah. What do we make of the dropping keys bit? Is that like a drop in the ball, or what did we make of that?
I don't think it's like a specific thing, but it seems to just be kind of like an indicator that whenever like Beard drops his keys, something pivotal to the night is going to happen.
Yeah.
Well done.
It's like this is like it's like I don't know. It is that thing of it goes from being a quiet night to what happens next, and then when it happens again, the whole thing takes like a big right turn, and then when it happens again, I think it's supposed to be like it's been weeks and months, but it unlocks the next part of the evening.
Yeah,
so it was like a computer game parlance sort of thing, like it's the red pass card, blue pass card thing from Doom sort of stuff. It is just, but he drops them, and then we find out that like I always forget their names.
Baz, Jeremy, and Paul.
That's it, yeah. They come over giving him stick. But is it Paul that's like, I just thought you might need a hug because he's such a nice bloke?
Paul's the best.
Jeremy gives him his keys first, doesn't he? He goes, Beard, you dropped your keys. And then they start going to give him shit about the match. And he's like, do you want to join me? Let's not talk about the football.
Yeah,
you can sit and drink as long as you want to drink and not talk about football. So they immediately like Speedy Gonzalez levels of sit down, because like he's the coach of their team, and the questions are: have you ever been to Vegas? What's Ted like, really? And given the universe is infinite and you can die at any time, how do you feel about that, or something? It's such a like 3 a.m. off your nut question to ask.
Yeah. Yeah. Beard sits back and takes it in, and then he takes a breath and he says, I've been to Vegas many times. 1 night is good, 2 nights is perfect, 3 is too many. Ted is a man, just a man. And as for the fragility of life, I'm so glad someone finally asked, because I got a few thoughts. And then after a lot of empty glasses, okay, he says, and so in conclusion, if this is, and we don't get to hear, if this is indeed a simulation, which everything in my experience suggests that it is, then all we can do is tip our caps to the rascal pulling the strings. What a great line. What a great line.
But, right, a couple of things here. They don't take their glasses back to the bar. Heathens. No. Right? That annoys me. I know it's to show the passage of time, but take them back. And also, they must have had about 10 pints each.
Oh, my God. It was a lot.
Like, based on that table, I mean, I know that there was always this much left in the bottom as well, because they're them kind of people that don't finish the pints either. But I'd be hammered. Like, I wouldn't be able to do anything. 10 pints even in one session, that's too many pints.
Yeah. And we know, given like the passage of time, we know that it must have like been, well, they say the pub's closing at 11:30, which no pubs close at 11:30. It's midnight or 11, isn't it? Never.
Well, 11 and then supping up time, innit? Yeah.
Yeah, 11:30 is like last orders for a lot of pubs.
But we get another great May line as well. It was like the man who, what was it? Like The man who told me to better myself on a date, my legs and the pub are closed. And it turns out it's
Like
that guy
like the man who kept correcting me on a date.
And he's right there. He's at the bar.
And he goes, it was 2 dates. Coffee counts as a date. And I was like, who's this guy?
We never see him again, I don't think.
I love the way as well, like, as soon as she says it, Baz goes, oh, that was Richard, wasn't it? He just sat at the bar reading a newspaper.
Oh, my. And Beard gets another text from Jane. This time she's posing with the cross behind her on the wall and says she's atoning for her sins, and if he's not going to join her, she hopes he's having fun. Beard asks where to next, and Jeremy says to bed. This is England. Pub shut at 11:30, to your point. He says, I'm not ready for the night to end. Any ideas? Paul says, what about Bones and Honey? Bass says, it's a private club, very swanky, impossible to get in. Jeremy says he heard they once turned away Cher. Paul bellows out, would you believe they did such a thing? In a sing-song voice, sounding like Cher.
He does it. It's to the tune of "Believe" by Cher.
Yes.
Can you
yes.
believe? Yeah. But it's just it's just a random bit. We missed the bit where Beard was going to text Jane back, and he's like, "I can't do this if we're not," and he just deletes it and puts his phone away. But it is that thing of like, Beard's clearly upset about this, and either you say it or that's it, we're done. But he can't bring himself to do it. That's the and then just gets hammered.
Yeah. Again, like, it's one of those things where at the start of the episode you think that it's just you think that it's just Beard is like angry about the loss, and everyone keeps bringing up the loss, and then obviously there's like that deeper thing of he's also having problems with Jane.
Another kind of loss, if you will.
Another kind of loss.
And when something in your life's not going right, if it's professionally, you want the personally to be going right. But he can't get any peace there. So, like, he's got turmoil on both fronts here. So Beard says, why don't we just head over there and see what happens? Jeremy says, I think there's a dress code. And that cue May, who pulls out a huge box labeled misplaced and displaced on the bar, and they all four bum rush it. We get a great slow-mo shot of them leaving the pub wearing something out of a retro vintage store. Fit, but you
looking
know
like
it.
Mumford and Sons, I've written.
Yeah. Fit, but you know it by the streets is playing in the background.
As a juxtaposition song to them, looking like dotty, sort of tough, aristocratic gentlemen, and then the streets.
I thought they looked more like you know, in like a Disney film when like a homeless person dresses up to look posh. That's what I thought, because like Beard's still got like his tracksuit on underneath.
Oh,
I
that's
think he's still got his
wonderful.
shirt on underneath. Yeah, he's got his tracksuit.
Paul's
on as well.
got his shirt on underneath. Yeah. Well, we find out at the end of the episode they all have.
Yeah. But
that's wonderful, man.
It's one of those great fashion montages.
We're like 22, 23 episodes into this review show. If you people don't know by now, I take notes. These two guys think. I don't have to think. You know what I mean? It's the best job ever.
You don't have to take notes.
Right, see?
Yeah.
Marriage made in heaven. So, they go in. Beard walks up to a desk. Looks like a hotel front desk for all we know. Talks to the woman behind it, Sarah Coombs, played by Carrie Howard. This convo is excellent. And the dialogue, we have to say, before we go any further, the dialogue in this episode is fucking fantastic. It is so good. Like, I can't say enough good things about the writing here. Beard says, do we know each other? Because, he's trying to scam his way in. She says, I don't think we do, sir. May I see your membership card? University of Barcelona, class of 2004? I went to Warwick 2007. I'm sorry, you looked older. She says, are you a member here? Here? No, God, no, never. Just
one of those things every woman loves to hear. Oh, you look older. Yeah.
I know. What was he thinking? Yeah.
I love that Beard's like, so like attempt to try and like disarm it is just conflict. It's instantly like trying to like go, oh yeah, I know you from this place, and then when they go, no, you don't. It's like, all right, conflict. And it's a reoccurring thing throughout the episode. He tries to smooth things over, doesn't work, instantly goes to conflict.
Yeah,
It's true.
It is one of those. But I mean, this lass is kind of horrible as well.
Oh yeah, she's got to stick up her ass.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's like one of those private clubs, so I'm assuming you get a lot of riffraff and stuff trying to blag their way in. But
yeah,
and they turn Cher away.
Expressions too were like the whole time just disgusted with him. You know what I mean?
I mean, he is dressed, like Jay said, like a mad tramp.
Yeah. The phone rings during this little conversation. Actually, no, it rings in a second. Beard asks, he says, "You're very rude. What is your name?" She gives him her name. "Sarah Coombs, what is your name?" He says, "None of my business," and then walks out. What was that?
You know, he stares at her. He goes, "None of my business."
Stare down, and she looks really confused, and then the phone rings, and she just like dismisses him.
It's a bewildering thing to say. None of my business. Well, it doesn't even make sense.
It's Baz on the phone, which is awesome. He goes back outside and Baz says, "Hello, this is the fire brigade. It's very important that we get in touch with," and Beard whispers her name. And he says, "Sarah Coombs." "Oh, that's you. Oh, well, I'm very sorry, madam, but your flat is on fire. You need to come down here immediately." Baz hangs up. Jeremy asks Beard, "Now what?" Beard says, "Act cool." He immediately turns to the wall and does this on the wall.
But
like that.
Did you not see what the others were doing?
Yeah.
Like Paul does that like kissing yourself hand thing.
Yes.
And the other one is just doing like the Snoopy dance. It's just such a like it's that thing of like, you know, in the IT crowd where it's like relax and they all start doing that thing.
Yeah.
It's just
it's
the most unnatural thing to see.
The thing as well, that's like, because obviously she thinks her flat's on fire, she doesn't even like look at them.
No,
she just bombs it past them.
When she comes running past them, Paul goes, "Orion's belt," just like that.
He's looking for the stuff.
It was Jeremy. I'm sorry, Jeremy did that. Yeah, out of the blue, you know. Yeah. And so she runs past, and they tell Beard, "Amazing," and Beard goes, "Huh? Like, I got this. I know what I'm doing." The next bit, they're in the elevator. Jeremy says, "You did it. You did what Cher couldn't do." Paul says, "I actually feel bad for Sarah Coombs." And Bass says, "Now, think how excited she'll be when she realizes her place didn't actually burn down." That's some twisted logic, gentlemen. I'm telling you. Like,
then Beard does the bit from Fight Club. It's like, but she'll wake up tomorrow and it will be the best day she's ever had. And I was like, what is happening here? Like, again, there's lots of weird segments in this. Beard just being like almost sage-like in his advice to these three.
This line is
like it. I'm gonna probably make a lot of parallels to the Big Lebowski, but he definitely has the same sort of like energy of the dude in the Big Lebowski in this episode.
Oh my god, well done. Yeah, like laissez-faire. I got this. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah,
but also very sort of wise to how things work in the world as well.
Yeah.
Like he's very good, I would say, at like manipulating people as well. Like, because he manipulated Sarah at the door. Like he's done this before. We've seen him work his like magic on people, and it just adds more layers to the Coach Beard onion.
It does.
Yeah.
And this line is connected to something else, because this line came from Fight Club. The line was, "Tomorrow will be the most beautiful day of Raymond K. Hessel's life. His breakfast will taste better than any meat you and I have ever tasted." There's a Fight Club reference.
Also, the music in the elevator is from Fight Club. Like
there you go.
Muzak version of that. Yeah.
Well done. They step out of the elevator, and the three guys are immediately intimidated. Beer says, "What's wrong?" Paul says, "I don't think we belong here." Which
I get that in a lot of places my wife takes me to. I'm like, I'm going to get the bum's rush. Yeah.
The idea of this, it's a class warfare kind of thing, right? Like, it's not. I've had that.
Yeah.
And
like if you go to like, as Joe said, like go to a place where you kind of you go in and it's like instantly you feel like, oh, this isn't my kind of scene. Like, but it, like also like you like go in and can sometimes feel like everyone's like looking at you as if to say, "Why are you here?"
Mm-hmm.
It's like it goes back to the whole kind of like perception is reality thing where with Rebecca with Nate, where it's like you make yourself belong there, you make yourself the person who belongs to being there, and that's literally Beard's. Beard walks in and he's like, I'm gonna just fit in. People are gonna stop batting an eyelid at me because I'm just here.
Act like you belong, isn't it? What he says? Yeah.
I love it because he's right.
These are three, working class lads who drink in, the Crown. This is way above their pay grade. They've never been anywhere like this.
Never.
So how do you act? Snooty, I guess, is the answer. But
you say you've never been anywhere like this, but Paul recommended it, so I reckon Paul secretly got a membership.
No, I think it's one of those things. It's like you'll have heard that, the football players go there or something. It's
I didn't actually check how far away it was from Richmond either, because it looks like it's by the Shard, isn't it? So
yes, when they come out,
the Shard in the background when he leaves.
Pointy building, yeah.
So it's.
Pointy building.
I'm assuming Richmond's like quite far out of London. I'm going to double check this.
But also, again, and you might need to cut this out, don't we go back there later on with...
Yeah, you'll have to tune into season 3.
I'm saying.
So it turns out it's where all the bad people go. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about it, and it's very like kind of symptomatic of places like this, is it's a fucking shithole.
It doesn't look nice, does it?
Doesn't look fun.
It looks like one of those bars in town that is incredibly expensive and is full of posers drinking cocktails. But like, how are you making money in this place? Because it's all exposed brickwork and like wood.
Because they're charging through the fucking nose to.
I know. But
I love as well
jars of honey on the bar, like open jars of honey.
Yeah, no one wants that.
No.
Amount of fruit flies they'd have in that bar.
Fruit flies. They
didn't have taps, so because the one of those bars that only serve bottles, so it's
bottles.
Fine. Yeah. Even then, when the guy asked Beard if he wants a glass, and he goes, "No, just have the bottles," and it's like the guy looks at him like with like bewilderment.
Yeah. Well, he says, "I'm going to go to the bar and get who wants an overpriced beer?" And they all kind of go.
They just.
Let me rephrase that: an overpriced beer that I'm buying.
Well, this is the thing as well. Like with Beard, like at this point, I think he's just happy to have their company, because he obviously wants to take his mind off things. He spent the evening with these lads and like just wants it to continue because he's enjoying being around them.
And if he didn't, he'd just go home and stew. It's like Ted in the Christmas episode. But
also, I think he recognizes the fact that they're like that. Not that he's like better off than them, but obviously, like he's got like presumably got a much better paid job than them.
Yeah.
And they feel like they don't belong there by him saying, "I'll buy your beers, don't worry." It instantly puts them at ease as well.
He heads off to the bar and he turns around and says, "Feel free to strut."
Yeah.
And they do that same sort of like weird. It's very good physical comedy from the three of them.
It is good physical. We get our first glimpse of the woman in red who plays a major role in this episode. We don't know it at this time. She smiles at him. He tips his cap to her. He does the bit about the ordering the beers, as you mentioned, Jay. The guys are playing pool and they're playing and the guys are giving him a hard time. One of them tells Jeremy to relax. It's just angles. If he had paid attention in trig, he would do better. They want to place a friendly wager on the shot, 20 quid. Baz asks what trig is, and they all laugh, asking were the three studied. Beard walks up using this accent, and it's so good. Like, I don't know if the accent's good, but he is fantastic. Like, Brendan Hutt deserves everything for this.
it's that thing of it may not be the best accent, but if you do it with conviction, no one's going to question it, and that's kind of another big theme. Yeah, yeah, and it's not a bad Irish accent, to be honest.
No,
he introduced himself as Declan Patrick Aloysius McManus, which is actually Elvis Costello's real name.
Yep.
There you go.
Which is a fun little thing.
He says, "At your service, but I assure you the pleasure is mine. But I must tell you, these lads here were the best at Oxford itself." Then we have this nice little back and forth, and they're not buying it. They start questioning him. It turns out they went to Oxford as well. It gets tense for a moment. They quiz him. They went to Christ Church, and Beard, and you start to think Beard's stuck. He's trapped. And then Beard says, "I'm a Merton man myself. Lived right across from the chapel. There's nothing like waking up every morning to the sound of the Dobson organ at 8:15, am I right?" And it gets real awkward and quiet, and then suddenly one of them goes, "You Merton motherfucker," and shakes his hand. They completely fall for this.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of the weird
so
thing that you would
good.
only know if you were there. And he's like,
Yeah.
"When did you retire?" And he was like, was it 2014? The year
15.
that we beat Cambridge in the boat race by 9 lengths. And then that lad's like, "I was the Cox." But the thing is, Beard goes, "What is he knows his name. Like, he knows the Cox's name in a boat race from, 8 years ago at this point?
He says, "I was the Cox." He goes, "Yes, you were, you bastard." And he goes in to hug him. Yeah, because he turns around and says, "Harry Gill is here in this pub." Oh my God. I love how we never get an explanation. Beard never goes, I do a lot of reading. He knew automatically, unless he does mention something later. But
He does mention it because
he does.
That's right. He does. You're right.
He says he dated a girl who went to Oxford, and then he says, I'm a good listener, not much of a talker."
That's right. You're right. Yeah. That's
And,
good stuff, man.
But it's cool that like he like stores that knowledge essentially in case he needs it. And
yeah, when would you ever need it?
Well, again though, it's the thing, isn't it, where he starts the situation like in a weird way, and then it instantly like goes to conflict where they're like questioning, like quizzing him. But this time it works, whereas the first time he like had to like kind of pull the rug from underneath it to like get it to work. And what's great as well about this is as soon as like the lads see that Beard's done that and like tricked them, because they know he's full of shit, because they know he's not Irish, so they already know immediately what the fuck's Beard doing. Beard's like doing the thing here to try and help us out. It like boosts their confidence to go, "Oh yeah, we'll take that bet."
Yeah. And then, like, between them, like the posh kids put down a £20 note, and they have to scrabble around in loose change. Like there's a tenner, a fiver, and then it's like Paul putting out like coins 1, 2, 3, and like it's the Beard line of, "We got there in the end." It's
I love as well, like Beard looks at the lads the like posh lads who look confused and goes, the eccentricities of genius or something like that.
Yeah. They're eccentric geniuses as well.
Yeah. Do you notice that Baz got the last name wrong? He called him Professor McGonagall and not McManus. He got it wrong, and no one seemed to notice. It's good. Yeah, it's good.
I love that, like as like the fact that Beard doing that as well, like instantly puts like Baz, Paul, and Jeremy on level with like these posh rich guys.
Yeah. It's also when Paul puts the last coin down, he goes, "How's that for trig?" It's like, That's not how it works.
I love Jeremy ends up being a little bit of a hustler because he lines up the shot and doesn't look at the shot and boom, nails it. It's so good, man.
It's a very, very good shot. And then all best mates.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah, because the guys say to them, "We'll buy you whatever drink you want."
Yeah. Great.
There is some other stuff that they say there, but I can't because it like pulls away from them. But I tried putting the subtitles on, but you can't. But there is other conversation there, and I think it's like anything or something like that, or I think even shots or something like that. There is other lines in there.
Baz says 3 big boots of ale, and they love that answer.
Is that what it is? Right?
Yes, they love that answer.
I missed that. Yeah.
And you almost think. You almost think the three guys are working class. These three dudes are not. Are they going to go boots of ale? But they loved that answer, which is cool.
They're eccentric.
Look, not to rant, but this whole, the line between us and them kind of thing, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but for a lot of people on our side and theirs, it's not really there. Like it's put there because of society or whatever. But if you really have conversations with people, we're all people. You know what I mean? Like divisions are put there by society. I don't know, not to go nuts, but anyway, that's where I'm at. But Beard does walk off, and suddenly all the TV show, the Man City highlights, and we've got Gary and Tia Reeves back, right? And they're talking about him again. They're saying it's clear that Coach Beard doesn't think he's worthy of Jane. Beard's self-esteem is so low, he will need a pep talk to kill himself.
Yeah, that's a dark line.
I can't help it. It's a great line. It's terrible, but it's great.
What is
Beard
this
says,
room?
I know, right?
It looks like it's meant to be like a VIP lounge, isn't it?
Yeah.
It looks like that bit in what's that? The Dinky film where they put all the white people's brains in black people's bodies, like that room that he's
Get Out.
Get Out. It looks like that room, and I was like, don't go in there.
Don't go there.
But yeah, there's just two chairs, a table, and this wall of TV showing like lava lamps.
It reminded me a bit of Clockwork Orange, like with the way it was.
Actually, yeah, which is comes up later.
Especially with like the hallway as well, like going down like that weirdly lit hallway to get there. It was just like it's very that kind of vibe.
Why would there be this room in a
maybe not so much Clockwork Orange, more like kind of just Stanley Kubrick in general, but it was very it had very much of that kind of vibe. But yeah, it looked like it was meant to be a VIP room, which is probably why the bouncer followed Beard in as well.
That's true.
But when he hears him ranting and raving at the TV,
he says he comes in and says asks if there's a problem. And Beard says yes, because he rips his pants when he stands up. That's important to remember. He says, yes, this nail on your faux Persian flea market coffee table just tore my pants. The guy asks for his membership card, and then he's thrown out because, of course, he doesn't have one. He's cursing, and he hears behind him, it's Red from the bar. And did you notice when he turns around, he just kind of presents himself like he's smooth. He's got this.
Well, he turns around, doesn't he, as if he's about to, like, confront her, and then realizes it's her, and he's like, oh.
It's great. She says, she says, I'm sure you know that your trousers are ripped. He goes, they're designed that way to make it easier for people to kiss my ass. And she says, be careful. We have decency laws in England. You'll get arrested. He says, I wasn't aware the laws were so restrictive here. She says, oh, yeah, we're a repressed nation. One exposed arse can bring down the monarchy itself. How dare you speak of Prince Andrew that way? She says, I could fix those for you. I live over there. He says, in that pointy building?
Yeah.
And very breathily, she goes, no. Like, listen, I'm a fan. That's all I can tell you. I'm a fan. All right. I'm watching it again.
It's the Scarlet Lady thing, though, isn't it? That's the thing. Oh, I will point out as well, while they're stood talking in the street, there is a big sign of a moon. The moon features quite heavily in this because of the blue moon, Manchester City thing.
I was gonna say, like one of the notes I've got is that every time you see the moon, it's blue.
Yeah. Because there's a bit later on where he's outside, and the moon is massive, and I was like,
and obviously, like the start of the episode, the City fans are singing "Blue Moon" as they're getting on the train.
Well done.
And then at the end of the episode, I think Ted says something about once in a blue moon.
Yeah,
and obviously, like this is like the wild kind of thing that would happen once in a blue moon. Is this whole night out?
I don't think it is. I think this is a standard night out for Beard.
Yeah, well, actually, to be fair, let me rephrase that then. Us getting the inside look of this night out is once in a blue moon.
Yeah,
the amount of times he's just had to return llamas to a petting zoo and stuff. Yeah.
Red is portrayed by Charlotte Spencer. She's known for playing the female lead in The Living and the Dead, and also for Sandition. So there you go. Yeah, they go back to her place. She tells him to take off his trousers off, and he says, "You're not the boss of me." This, without, you know what I mean? Like, It's so witty and very matter of fact. I love it. She says she's going to give him something to wear. In the meantime, she says people come and go, and she keeps a pair of their trousers. She hands him a really shiny pair. It's classic Beard garb here. It's awesome.
David Bowie's trousers, yeah.
I know, right? It says they're from an old lover who's now dead. She points out that he dropped his keys, back to what we said earlier, he dropped his keys, and then asks if he regretted a relationship ending, and he says he's been doing it all day. She says, well, she hasn't, and he responds, in all the happiest memories that he has, he's single, and that troubles. He goes, and that troubles me. Again, who talks this way?
But if you look, it's the perception reality thing as well. He's talking to himself in the mirror.
Oh.
Is she even there?
She is.
She is there, obviously,
you know
but it's more him saying this to himself, and that makes me. He's like, all my best memories are me on my own, and that makes me sad. But he's looking at himself while he does it. She's in the room talking.
She's not in the shot. Right, got you.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been like another Fight Club thing too, right? So
yeah, this scene really reminds me of The Big Lebowski. Like, it reminds me of the first scene you meet Maud, where she's just like talking at the dude, and the dude's just like kind of like half listening, half like not thinking about anything else except making his drink. And like you get that with Beard, where he's sort of listening, but he's also thinking a lot more about his own problems.
This is all very 50s style. My notes say the music, the clothes, the dialogue is tremendous. It's like I expect this to be black and white. There's everyone smoking cigarettes, you know? It's really well done. She asks him if he's ever been in love, and he responds with indifference that there's someone in his life, and it could be chemicals or pheromones, but he wants to be with her all the time. Is that love, or do I have a problem? She says, why can't it be both? Her phone rings, and she asks him to get it. She says, get that, would you? And the caller ID, it's FaceTime call, says, do not answer. She says it's a joke, and he answers. It's a gruff-looking dude sounding like Will Ospreay. 100%, by the way, sounds like Will Ospreay. This is Charlie Rawls as Darren. There you go.
This guy, half Batista, half Roy Kent. Yeah.
Yeah. He asks Beard who he is.
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah. And he just goes, I'm Beard. Like that, like very matter-of-factly. And he turns the phone around. She tells him that it's a trouserless man she met at Bones and Honey. He tells Beard he's going to punch his fucking teeth out of his face, feed them to his arsehole like they're candy. He hangs up. Beard goes, oh, shit. Like, I got to get out of here. She says, don't worry. He's just a little jealous. And just like that, the guy's at the door that quickly. And Beard's eyes are like that.
Did he say he's, let me in, I've lost my keys or something?
Yes.
It's more keys. Yeah. That's why he was in the that's why he was in the building. That's why he got there so quick. And he's also, this flat that she lives in, this thing, must be about £2 million where it is in London. It's a big old room.
It's huge.
Yeah. But he's him banging on the door. And she just turns to him and goes, run.
It's great.
I'm fairly sure it's from something as well, but I can't remember.
I'm sure it is too.
He kind of just like commando rolls off the chaise longue and out the window. I was like, it's an option.
And what do you think about him jumping off the roof, by the way? Because when you see the effect, if you see it, watch him jump, it's one take. And we know that Brendan Hunt likely didn't jump, so it's of course been CG'd in, but it's a great take. It looks like he actually jumps off the roof himself. Has this ever worked in real life that you didn't break a leg or your back or an arm? For goodness sake. You know what I mean?
No. That's a big skip, to be fair.
Yeah, I know, but when he lands in it, a load of dust shoots out, and it looks like it's industrial rubble. It looks like a load of plasterboard and like...
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like, I mean, I've seen it happen in films a lot, but because it looks like about 3 stories up.
Yeah, it's quite a deep skip as well.
It is.
Like when he rolls out of it, like it's taller than Beard when he walks away from it.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought you'd want it to land like flattish to because he lands leg first in it. And
Yeah.
When you watch stuntmen do it, they land flat on the.
That's true.
Yeah. But again, does this even happen? Like, it's all. Is it real? Is it not? Isn't it?
You got to stop doing that, because now you've seriously got me wondering.
Is this
you know what I mean?
bouncers dreaming neighbors?
Did he even leave his apartment? Oh my God, that's messing with me.
As we also know, like, Beard's proclivities for illegal narcotics and that, like, it's not. It does happen. Like, it clearly all happens, but it all feels very symbolic and stuff of him having to reach lows before he can.
He gets to the club and he's still, like, as in Richmond at the end of the episode, and he's still got the pants on. Yeah, which do make reoccurring
they do
appearances within the show.
That's fair.
So I think that's like, it's like Inception, isn't it? With the spinning top, that's like the thing we know where it's not like just a hallucination, because Beard still has the pants.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the other people as well, but yeah.
He ends up on the bus, and the old lady tells on him because he didn't tap in. So the bus stops, lets him off.
This is great, where he runs away and like he manages to duck this giant man, and then the bus pulls past and he's gone. And I'm like, again, this is from so many films as well.
Oh yeah,
that man must move so quickly.
Yeah.
Well, as we find out later, he's on a scooter.
He does have a scooter.
He's got a little.
No, he's on a scooter later. But at this point, he's literally...
He's in great shape.
He's come in. he's come, like, got down from the roof, got into the flat, chased Beard to a bus.
Yeah.
We know Beard's jumped from the roof as well.
And
3 stories.
We assumed he took the winding staircase that goes like this. So it's several flights of stairs, or however many flights, that he would have to get down. And he's in great shape, I guess, which explains why he's not gassed. But it's like, come on, how'd you get... It's like the Droopy Dog cartoons where he droopies everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, it's the bus, like, Beard sits down, he's like, "Woo, still got it." And that shoots him a look. And I'm like, this bitch.
Right. Hey, the still got it line, what does that connect to that Beard's done before?
Because it's not the first time he's done any of this.
That's right. You're right. Yeah.
I imagine Beard is hidden in more wardrobes to avoid angry boyfriends and husbands than I care to think about.
Oh my God, that's epic. I love it. He ends up in the lobby of a nearby hotel. He has another weird confrontation with the front desk clerk.
Woman, though, he didn't tap in, and he goes to find he's lost his wallet and phone at this point as well.
Yeah, right? Left that out.
And the bus driver, and I have been on London buses when this happens, and they just refuse to move. And it's like, it's hoping that the societal pressure will force the person to get off. They don't give a shit. But then he gets off, and this woman screams at him. What is it? Like, piss off, you freeloading scrounger. And I was like, mate.
He mentions to her, doesn't he? It appears I've lost my phone and wallet.
Yeah.
Because he goes in his pocket to actually sort it out.
Oh, it's just, there's no, like, what are you getting from screaming at a random person on a bus?
Yeah. Well, it's good to know that not just in my country, but in yours, people don't know how to mind their own business. Like, mind your business. What do you care if someone... Good Lord. Oh, by the way, how old are you, lady? And why are you on the bus at this time of night? What are you doing? I'll ask you questions.
This must be, what, about 2 a.m?
At least.
It's gotta be.
Not again. There's no way one of those Route Master buses would be going around at that time of night, because they all would have to load in from the front. So again, not important.
I note the time later. At some point, it's 2:20 a.m., but I forget what point. I've got it in my notes somewhere, so it's probably.
I imagine that would be when he gets his phone back.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
Oh, it would have said the time when he answers the call.
Yeah. I don't know. But they left the pub at 11:30. They got to the Bones and Honey. They were in there for, what, half an hour? He's been
Until
at
he
this
got
flat for 15 minutes. So
I don't think he was even there that like half an hour, because he's literally, if you think about it, he goes in, he gets a drink, gets around the drinks. They
Has
do
that
the trick shot,
conversation, and
and then he goes to the room. So he's realistically, obviously, TV time happens a lot quicker. He's probably been in there for like 10, 15 minutes.
It's, again, not important in any way, shape, or form, but it would still be a night bus at that point anyway.
Yeah.
And also, that bus is going at a fair old lick. If he just grabbed onto that pole, he'd have pulled his arms off.
Yeah.
That's fair, too. Yeah. Yeah. And you notice when he got off the bus, the moon's in the background in the night sky, and it's freaking massive.
It's massive moon, that.
It's massive, yeah. He has this conversation with the hotel desk clerk, and it's another weird one. The guy thinks that if he lets him borrow his phone, he's going to go through it.
This
guy's nuts.
This guy is like a shining example of what night staff are like.
Yeah,
anyway,
it really is.
There's a reason they're night staff.
What is it? He's like, because the next thing you know, you and fake Melania have stolen all my cryptocurrency, which I don't have. I'm like, what is going on? And Beard's just like, I just want to phone a taxi. I'll use my own account.
Yeah.
That's how it begins.
Yeah.
Within seconds, you'll have my mother's maiden name, all my cryptocurrencies, not that I have any. Next thing I know, my hard drive is being confiscated by MI5. And as he's talking, Jay, Beard has given up, and he's just walking out, just defeated.
Again, another callback to the Big Lebowski when like the dude's leaving Jeffrey Lebowski's office, and it plays it where you can still hear Jeffrey Lebowski shouting after him, continuing his speech, as he's just like, yeah, whatever.
Wow. This is where we get, and we talked about this, I think, before we started recording, the bit that I think maybe all three of us have forgotten happened. Beard ends up in this alley, and he comes up on three guys who he thinks can help him. He's glad to see them. And actually, it's Jamie's dad, Bug, and Denbo Collins from the last episode, which we know is Man City. And as we remember, Beard, politely helped Jamie's dad, his head, into the door before he ushered him out of the locker room, which he deserved, and then some.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was, and what's weird is that Beard tells him sorry for what happened before. He's trying to get around him, and James Tart Sr. tells the guys they should teach Beard and his magic trousers, which is a great line, what football is all about. It doesn't happen on the pitch. It happens on the street. What does that even mean? Like,
my logic behind this was, of course, those three twats are ultras. So essentially, it's more of a European thing, but it does happen in England as well, where every club has a group of fans who essentially just want to fight other fans called ultras. And of course, those three dickheads are ultras because you can tell just by looking at them. So yeah, they basically they were probably walking around London in the city colours anyway, looking for a fight with some Richmond fans.
Yeah, but only if there was one fan on their own, because they wouldn't fight fair. Yeah. They'd have to be in agreement because they're all cowards.
Only if they outnumbered them. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because it was a big late 80s, early 90s thing, like football hooliganism in Britain got to like it's not people who actually like the sport; it's people who just want to go and fight.
Yeah, you do still get it with certain like groups of fans, unfortunately, but it's a lot. It's been stamped out a lot, and you tend to find as well now, like, I know like Millwall are one of the ones who are like infamous for it, where like their fans like are universally hated because they're just dickheads who want to fight. They got drawn against Everton one time in Liverpool, and so not for much longer, but Liverpool and Everton's grounds are separated by this massive park, Stanley Park, and the Millwall Ultras decided they wanted to pick a fight with the Everton Ultras. So they're like, we'll meet you at this park for this fight. So they all get there, and then as like the Everton Ultras are stood there, from behind the Millwall ones, the Liverpool Ultras came and like helped them out.
A flanking maneuver, the classic military pincer.
Yeah, and basically just chased them out the city.
Good.
Yeah. So It sometimes they use the powers for good. As I say, it's more of a European thing. You tend to find it happens a lot more in like Eastern Europe and Italy, and France have a little bit of it as well. But yeah, they're just not desirable people.
Well, and we know that Jamie's dad is a piece of crap, and so are his friends, and they all suck. And Beard tries to run.
When you first see them, and he's like, "Help me!" It is that scene from A Clockwork Orange where they're walking from the light towards him, which is another Stanley Kubrick reference as well.
Well done. Beard runs and he gets around the corner and he can't get away, and off to his right at a table is Gary and Thierry at this table. And Gary says, "Looks like Beard's done for." And Thierry says, "Beard really wanted to get beat up tonight." And he agrees and says that Beard wants to take punishment instead of the love and support from the people around him. Thierry says he thinks Beard hates himself.
When Beard gets to that door, his keys fall out of his pocket.
Yeah.
Pivotal
another
moment.
lesson learned.
Yeah. This is definitely the most bizarre set of notes I've ever done for one of these episodes, because I've literally got like the odd sentence here and there, and then I've got a tally chart that says keys and a tally chart that says Blue Moon to just see if there was like a continuity between the episode, which there was.
When Thierry says this line, Beard yells back at him to shut up, Thierry. He's done it like 3 times now in this episode. It's so good. So good. The guy started beating him up.
He gets sucker punched, doesn't he, by Jamie's dad. And Beard, fair play, like tries to fight back, but obviously massive outnumbered.
Yeah.
They beat him down, and then they're like, stay down, and he Captain America's the crap out of it and keeps getting up.
Yeah.
Awesome. And plus, not for nothing, like a fist and a boot still hurt regardless of who's throwing it. But these aren't 320-somethings in their prime and they're athletes with strong arms. So like,
no.
Yeah, he's getting beat up, but is it how much power is behind? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I would think maybe, well, I'm going to get back up. I won't feel good in the morning, but I'm going to get back up from this because, you people are old. You know what I mean? Like, come on. So
it's 3 against 1, though, isn't it? Like,
it is 3 against 1.
Yeah.
And when he gets back up, he goes, "All right, guys, how about we just call this a draw?" And what's funny is Jamie's dad looks down and there's a lead pipe, because of course there is. It's just lying there because what? Oh, well, hey, I'll pick this up. And then here comes the man that we find out is Darren, and takes him out and just takes them all out. Well, they takes out 2 of them. And I forget which one just looks at him and just runs away.
I'm assuming the little Weasley one is Bug, for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Little insect. Yeah, it's good. And he's apologizing to him. They're walking away from this. He's apologizing to him and says he gives him his wallet and his phone back. And Beard goes, "Oh, well, that's nice," which is cool. He explains that they're having a baby and that he's jealous. We get Red's name. It's Mary. He says, "Maybe I'm too paranoid, mostly because I've cheated in the past, but I'm in a really good place now." He tells Beard that she's keeping his pants. He says, she's keeping your pants. It's kind of her thing. He tells Beard he can keep the new ones he has and that they look good on him. Beard says, "I know." Again, this dialogue is effing great.
Again, it's very Coen Brothers, this scene.
Oh, yeah. Well said. Well said. Darren says, "Sorry about the shit game today. I'm not a Richmond fan, but Mamma Mia, that was tough to watch." He hands him his keys. He said, "I think you dropped those." There you go. Then he gets on his little scooter. He's like 260 solid muscle.
On a child's scooter. And he's like, "Be lucky," and just scoots off into the night.
It's great. Beard says, "I'm trying." He opens his phone, and I got the numbers. There's 72 missed calls, 52 messages from Jane. He's scrolling through. We see the neon purple cross again. One of the messages, several of the messages says, "I love you." Beard is panicking, and he tries to call. I think he's going to have a Ted Lasso panic attack. but his phone dies right as he's going to call her. He's losing his mind. He's doing a crazy little dance in the tunnel, you know. Then he's on the street with highlights from the game on the big video screens. He doesn't even see them. And Ted is on the screen, kind of just watching everything play out as he's walking. A limo pulls up with the guys, and Beard gets in. It's Jeremy, Baz, and Paul. He says, "We have a limo." They tell him the Oxford guys were really nice guys in the end, but they were really bad at pool, and that they admitted who they really were, but were invited to these guys' country estate anyway for Easter. Paul says, "I don't know what I'm going to wear." He's all excited by this.
Great line.
Jeremy says they made so much money off them that they treated themselves to a limo. They look at Beard and they said, "Where to? This night will never end." Beard says, "Home, please." Like he's done. He's done.
I don't know.
They take him. And Baz thanks him for a wicked night. Beard writes down something on a piece of paper and he hands it to him saying, "Go to this address. Tell Renee that Beard said it was okay." They drive off and they're singing. They're singing about cornetto. I don't know this reference. What is this? Do we know?
Joe, I'll let you.
Cornettos are a frozen ice cream thing. It's like a wafer cone chocolate thing. They're very nice. I like them. But one of their advertising campaigns in, I think, the late 80s, early 90s was a man on a gondolier singing "Oh Sole Mio," but with the lyrics of just one cornetto, give it to me. And it's one of those like cultural touchstones in Britain. Like everyone knows it. Like even if you weren't alive, it's continued on.
Edgar Wright's made a series of films based around cornettos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Quadrology now apparently is doing a fourth one.
There isn't a fourth flavour.
Don't worry about it.
Toffee, no. Yeah. But it's just one of those. Shaun of the Dead is red. Choc and Nut is vanilla. Blue, which is Hot Fuzz. Yeah. And green is mint for that last one. Yeah.
There's vanilla.
There's not a vanilla cornetto.
There is vanilla cornetto.
I'll fight you, but there isn't. But no, it's one of those weird, like, just weird things that people know, even if you weren't alive at the time. It's just perpetuated on and on and on. I don't know why.
What sucks here? What sucks here is that Beard's night is getting worse. He goes to his front door. Better. He breaks his key in the lock, and then it starts raining. And in my notes, in parentheses, I had Jesus Christ with an exclamation mark. He takes off running down the street and past the church with the neon purple cross. But then he comes back and he goes in. Looks like a traditional church, got candles and such. Beard sits in a pew and we see the rain coming down the stained glass. Really dramatic moment. He starts praying. He says, "Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret's little boy." Long-time listener, first-time caller, which is a great line. I know you're probably busy. You got bigger fish to multiply than fry. But there's this girl, this woman, Jane, last name Payne, Payne. You probably know that already, but in case you wanted to look her up. I care for her deeply. I could have been with her tonight, but I ended up here with you. He's all disgusted. I'm under no illusions that she could solve what ails me, but when I'm with her, the world just seems or feels more interesting. He looks up. The rain has suddenly stopped. And I'm like, this episode continues to get weirder, right? He hears something, then he goes to investigate. Yes.
I've just remembered as well, when he's on that bus and he goes, "Woo, still got it," you see a reflection of that purple cross in the glass, as just a flash of it as he goes past it on the bus as well. It has appeared quite a lot throughout the evening as well.
I missed that.
Just a weird little bit in it.
I missed
but I was like, what kind of like? And he goes and he finds this like underground club, beneath the church, and I'm like, I'd be wary of going downstairs in any churches, but wild. Looks like a great time.
Well, we also get in the midst of this. The three guys have gone looking for the address. They go to a door labeled "No Entry." They knock, and an old man opens up. It's like something out of a horror film.
This guy, the most Cockney man in the world.
He's awesome.
But he's called Rene.
Yeah. They said Beard sent us. which is good.
Did you notice what the door had written on it as well? Door 237.
Yeah.
Which is the room from The Shining, which is another Kubrick.
Oh,
yeah.
well done. Well done.
It's a weird like melding of influences, this, isn't it? Like the Coen brothers, Stanley Kubrick, and a little bit of Edgar Wright for good measure.
Yeah, there's a lot of... Because I was thinking, like, that bit where he's like, okay, should we call it a draw? I know that from something as well, and I can't think what it is.
It's not Hot Fuzz, is it?
I don't think so. It is from something, but
I'm sure
it's
it
not
is.
important. Yeah, possibly. But yeah, it's just, yeah, there's a lot of winks to film references and stuff in it, which is a very Edgar Wright thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they follow him inside, the old man. They follow him inside, and they turn on bright lights.
Through
And,
these Viet Cong tunnels that are there.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Well,
Jeremy says, is it heaven?
well, they
Go on.
referenced the tunnels in season 1.
Oh,
Hey.
they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the episode where they burn everything,
Yep.
Yes.
they make a reference to it.
They're horrific. Like,
Yeah. Way over my head. Holy Lord. I was not prepared for that. Yeah. Jeremy says, is this heaven? He says, no, it's Nelson Road. They get excited and they go in. It's the AFC Richmond pitch, and they're losing their minds. We Are the Champions is playing, and they're having a blast. They got the ball. And this goes back to my question.
The groundskeeper who keeps the fucking ball on the pitch.
Yeah. This goes back to my initial question for you two guys a couple episodes back, whatever it was. Have they ever even been to a game? Because not that they'd know the address necessarily, but they don't know what part of town they're in?
I don't think they have.
I don't know how long those tunnels are. Like, it could have been a long distance away, but then why was Renee behind that door? Like, there's so many questions. Again, it's not every question that's answered. There's 3 more. Like, why are these tunnels here? We don't know.
Yeah.
Why is there an old Cockney man guarding the door?
So Renee he's mentioned in season 3, and as are the tunnels, and then he's also, the tunnels are alluded to in season 1 in the burning episode.
Yeah,
where they say, because it was like the World War recruitment thing, like they'd enter the ground through those tunnels. So what I want to know is Renee the groundskeeper? Is he like a security guard? Is he like some kind of ghoul that lives in the ground? So many questions.
Seen the groundskeeper because Ted's riding around on the lawnmower with him, and it's not Renee.
Yeah. That's a good point.
In the first episode, when Ted walks on the pit, Nate's getting all up in arms about it, saying he's just mowed that or something.
Again, see, more questions that I just think he's a random night watchman that hangs around in the tunnels.
I think he's just one of Beard's like weird friends that he's just like recruited to do this.
He's got a black hat, a leather jacket, a black shirt. Like,
well, I think it's the thing you're supposed to think it's like an after hours speakeasy sort of thing.
Yeah,
like, it's a very unassuming door in the middle of like this thing, and then you end up. But why would he be behind there just on the off chance that someone wants to go into the football ground at 2 a.m? It doesn't have to make sense. It's television, but it is just very, very strange.
To be fair, he is probably just like a night guard for it, and we're overthinking this. Massively, yeah. But that's this episode, because perception, reality.
But yeah, they're kicking the ball about. We are the champions as well, which is nice.
And this is probably the highlight of their lives to this point in time. Like, they're 3 young guys. This is it for them. You can die after this. You're happy. You know what I mean? Like,
I like the fact when Paul scored, they did the chicken dance off FIFA as well. That's an actual celebration on FIFA where the players all go in a line and walk like chickens.
That's funny. That's funny. I'm watching it again right now. They're having a blast. Yeah. We go back to Beard at the church. He's still looking and finally finds the source of the sound. It's a big party, like a rave, and he walks in. he then cuts loose and just starts dancing, which is this wild white dude dance,
Yeah.
There's hula hoops hanging. We see a hand come up to grab a hula hoop, and
I love the way it's shot where he walks in, and then as the music hits, he starts dancing. Oh, it's so good.
It's awesome. It's so good. She hands the hula hoop to him and tells him to try it on. He does it, and he heads up to the stage with it, and he's crushing it. Have either one of you guys ever had success with a hula hoop? Because I never did.
Not like that.
No.
Jesus, that's like God tier hula hooping.
No, right? Holy God. I could never do that.
And also, we know because the way it's shot, Brendan Hunt did it all himself.
Yeah, he used to do it in his stand-up. Like, I don't know why, but I've never seen any of his stand-up. But apparently, he used to incorporate hula hooping into his stand-up routine, which is still better than ventriloquism in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, it does go Brendan Hunt, Jeff Dunham for sure.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, we know what Jeff.
For anyone who's listening, I did list them as well, just to ensure Jeff Dunham is definitely at the bottom.
Big gap between Brendan. Yeah,
huge gap.
But he's doing great work on this, and like spins it up his arm, and like it's impressive.
He's doing the hula hooping. Okay, and he looks over and he points. Once again, it's Gary and Thierry. They're having drinks and they salute him out of nowhere. And Gary's
at the bottom, my lads.
Gary says, they do food here? And Thierry says, for me, yeah. And Gary goes to get something and he pushes his hand away. It's awesome.
A little slap. Yeah.
Again, if anyone could get food in a nightclub, it's probably Thierry Henry. If he walks into a nightclub and says, I would like this, they find a way.
Someone's going out the back to get it from somewhere, yeah.
Even if they're just getting like a little portable barbecue set up in the like back and just like quickly making something for them.
Beard and Jane had this really intense stare down. They circle each other, and Beard's got the big eyes, the very expressive eyes, and suddenly they just start dancing in sync with the music. Great moment. These two, I don't know if you could say the characters are made for each other, but they're just both in the right frame of weirdness to be able to tolerate each other's bizarreness. I don't know how else to put it. Like, it works.
They're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
Same wavelength.
But I think it's that thing of like, they don't, this is that their dancing together is their version of saying that, like, I love you. Like, they don't have to say it now.
Yeah.
Is everything forgiven? Let's have a bit of a boogie. Yeah.
Because really, them playing chess was flirting. And them dancing is I love you. So that's how far they've come. So, yeah. The next day at the dog. See, I can do that too. These guys just do it much better. I'm just saying. They do it much better.
I just teed you up for it. It's fine.
Well, that's for. See, there you go. Thank God I didn't miss it. Next day at the dog track, Ted, Roy, and Nate are waiting for Beard. Ted says he'll be here. Beard's like the mailman, you know? He always delivers and he looks great in shorts. By the way, this is a Ted Lasso show. And we kind of didn't feel that way because this is all Beard. I'm not complaining, but like seeing Ted suddenly is kind of a shock. You know what I mean?
In it for like 2 minutes, if that.
Yeah, we see him at the start. We see him on the bit where Beard's walking through Leicester Square and he's on the screen clapping.
Yeah.
And then we see him here.
It's funny. Coach Beard comes in and says, morning, fellas. Ted says, what'd I tell you? Beard says, flat white, coffee black, peppermint latte. And Roy's like, cheers. And they're all looking at him like, oh, is he okay? You know?
Well,
Ted points to his face.
And like he's,
yeah. Is everything all right? Because, I just slept too late.
One thing I did notice, and again, it's the same with the Christmas episode, where whenever they're in the club, you know it's like something that's actually going to play into the overarching story. There was one little bit which I noticed in this scene where, like, obviously, Roy's like, "Where's Beard? Should we like go look for him or call him?" And Ted's like, "No, he's fine." And Nate is like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to get the coffee." Like, furious about it again. It's like, why is Nate so mad that he's gonna have to go get coffee?
Why is he not more concerned about where, like, even
Yeah.
Roy is concerned about where Beard is? Because I
Like,
imagine Beard's always like first there and last to leave. Like,
Roy and Beard have that like understanding, though, don't they?
Hmm.
You can just look at each other and
will
nod.
say as well, I really like Nate's like Hoxton jacket he's got on there. It's got like the club logo on, but it's got like I was like, ooh, I like that.
Very nice.
And again, as we said before, we get a break from Nate's downward spiral, which is good because you got to take breaks.
There's a little wink at it there. With
There's a little,
like,
there's a little sort of like nudge, wink, wink. This is still happening, by the way. We haven't forgotten about it.
Yeah.
It's just we needed this episode to kind of develop Beard, and also, like as I say, it's the whole point of this episode is to kind of help you after the gut punch of Ted, like bearing his soul to Dr. Sharon and the city. Everything that happened in there, where it's a massive, like, don't want to say downer because that kind of downplays it, but it's a massive, like, negative thing that's happened. And then they needed something to kind of just, like, almost disarm you the way Beard does in this episode with, like, all the bits that he does to try and, like, trick people.
But also to give you time to process it as well.
Yeah.
Like, because a lot happens in that last sort of 5 minutes.
It's true.
Yeah. And that's what Beard's doing is the entire evening is he's processing what happened with the loss and also what's going on with Jane as well. It's
a lot of interconnectivity happening. Yeah. He says, just slept too late.
And fell off the bed. And Roy goes, oh yeah, that happens.
No, I think Roy was okay with it. He seemed to go along with it.
No, he goes silent. He goes, yeah, that happened. He gives him like the side eye. He's like, he knows what's happened.
It's
Roy's
good.
been in enough scraps in his time, I'm guessing, to know.
Oh, that's fair. Ted says, okay, who's ready to watch yesterday's match? And they all groan immediately. Beard says, I've actually watched it plenty. Ted says, I know, but this is how we get better. Sometimes every once in a blue moon. Hey. There is a game so awful. So, Roy goes, dog shit. Nathan says, haunting. Beard says, a catastrophe of epic proportions. Ted says, that the only way to watch it back is at 10 times the speed and with the Beating Hill theme music playing under it. Here we go. It's great because, we get reminded of a couple of things. One of the Nate thing, but also Ted. Ted will never, ever focus on the negative. Doesn't matter how bleak it is. He will never sit around face palming. It's not who he is. So he's not going to make light of the loss. But he's going to let them know we can watch this like this because it's one game. We're coming back. You know what I mean? Like, it's not disaster. It's not the sun's going to come up tomorrow or came up today. We're going to be fine. So if anyone's going to have to stay positive, it should be the guy leading the team. So we get that reminder. That's who he'll always be. They start to chuckle. Beard puts his shiny legs up on the desk, pulls his hat down.
I love the fact that no one acknowledges Beard's trousers at all in this.
I was surprised. Yeah. I was surprised by that. And he lowers his head and folds his arms in signature Beard fashion. What an episode, kids. Episode 9. We just did it. It's in the books. Man, we didn't want to talk this from the death. I mean, we went an hour and a half, but still, that's kind of par for the course for us. But God, this was so good. I feel like
we barely scratched the surface on things that have happened.
Agreed.
Like we've talked about the symbolism because there's a ton of it, and we've talked about what we think's influenced certain bits of the episode, and obviously, as we said, there's loads of Coen Brothers references in there, and loads of Stanley Kubrick references. If you told me this episode was directed by Edgar Wright, I believe you. But it's there's so much going on in this episode that I think we could probably have spoke about it another 3 or 4 hours and still not really scratch the surface.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So let's talk about takeaways. If we've got anything more to add, Joe, what have you got left here? What do you think?
There's not a lot really. It furthers we get to know a little bit more about Beard and how he operates in the day-to-day world. But I think also it shows that not only Ted takes losses, it hurts Beard as well, that they got such hammered and Ted didn't think, and this is how he deals with it. But it's also more of like Beard and Jane's stuff. And yeah, it isn't. You could skip this episode and not miss anything in terms of the story, but you would miss out on the character. And if Ted Lasso has anything, it's characters, believable, realistic characters with flaws. And this. I mean, they could have theoretically done one for every single member of the team at some point if it was keeping going, just to flesh out their world. But we get this one. It's Beard.
They sort of have though, with as in like multiple people within it, like one episode, like they did in the Christmas episode with like a lot of the team.
And in the later series as well, we get a bit more of everyone.
I was gonna say, like the Amsterdam episodes. There's tons of like stuff like with Roy and Jamie and that, isn't it?
But I the first time I watched it, didn't really care for it because it didn't feel like a Ted Lasso episode. But rewatching it for this, it's a really good episode because
really good.
It's so not a Ted Lasso episode, but also still is because it's still got those jokes in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's still like, even though this horrific evening has happened to him, he's still cracking wise. He's still like there's still characters that you love behaving in ways that you know, but there's just no development of the greater plot. And like Jay said, because that last episode was such a massive, you need this time to process that, and also to like just not going to say cleanse your palate, but like to just reset everything in your brain as well, because we found out so much bad information at the end.
I mean, if this were an X-Men book, in this issue we focused on Beast, and that was it. And we got a glimpse of the team at the end.
Yeah.
You know, to put it in comic book terms. Yeah. Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, I when I'm, like, obviously I knew we were coming closer and closer to this episode, and like Joe, I wasn't a huge fan of this episode the first time I watched it. This time around, I absolutely loved it. It is a really divisive episode, and every TV show has one that people either love it or loathe it. I know people who this is their favorite episode because it's so different from everything else. Now, I'm not going to say it's my favorite episode because it's not, but it's definitely up there. It's after watching it again today, I didn't realize how good it was. As I say, with like the symbolism, the just sort of like little nods to things here and there, and just a different direction it goes. Like a lot of shows try and go a different direction and it blows up in the face, and they don't really revisit that kind of like formula again. Mm-hmm. With this, it could just be the one episode they do like this, but it's done so well that it leaves you wanting to know more about Beard. And as I say, we ended up with more questions about Beard than we got answers.
That's fair. Well said. I can't add much more to anything. So.
I have just looked it up, and it is the lowest ranked Ted Lasso episode on IMDb.
God, people suck.
Episode.
It's Ted Lasso's version of the Fly episode from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, it's not a bottle episode, but it is. Yeah.
But it's just this one self-contained little thing that, on its own, it's fine.
Yeah, like I said, having rewatched it, it's not my favorite episode, but it is not the worst episode by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I mean, now look, to be honest, we're all three a little biased here, kids, because we really enjoy this stuff. I mean, I'm just saying. So yeah, we might be a little biased, but yeah, I saw something yesterday. It's like, what's your favorite, the best TV show of all time? I don't know if in this chair I'm prepared to say Ted Lasso, but I could say it and not regret it. I mean, I love this stuff. For me, this might be my favorite show of all. God, it's a big one, but as we get closer to the end of season 2, kids, you're going to see we got a lot more to come. Season 3 is another big season. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but come episode 12, we'll see where Nate is, and you'll find out. If you've not watched, you'll find out. So, buckle up. It's coming. It's coming. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, and that's all the tease I'll give you. But there you go, kids. Episode 9 in the can. We want to thank everybody, as we always do here, for supporting the show. Please visit boinkstudios.com, B-O-I-N-K, boinkstudios.com. And when you visit that website, you will get podcast links to this very show, also to Tom Clark's 6M podcast and Tom Clark's Main Event. You'll also get links to Jay and Joe's shows as well. And you can follow us on socials. Everything that you can imagine, you can find on that website, including, the latest news, that kind of thing. All the links you could hope to find, and then some. Thanks again, kids, for checking us out. Thanks for being on the ride. We very much appreciate it. Please continue to share the show wherever you can. And we hope you've enjoyed watching. Stay tuned for episode 10. I can't believe I'm saying episode 10. It freaks me out. Episode 10, season 2 coming soon. Get ready, kids. It's coming your way shortly. Be ready for it. We'll be ready to deliver it to you. That's it for us. For Joe and Jay, I'm Tom. See you next time, kids.